Hello and welcome to the Post-Up Show. This is Cyrus. I'm here with Playoffs K. Ooh, and, Kaunda, Chama, I'm so happy that it's you and not Paul George. That's all I'm saying. Because he was a Playoffs P. Man, oh man, what drama we have had. The playoffs. What more can you say?
Cyrus, this morning my heart skipped a beat. Do you know why?
Why is that?
I envisioned the possibility of a Miami Heat Denver Nuggets NBA final. I was like, do you know that's a 50-50 possibility right now?
It's pretty spooky, right? It's pretty spooky. It looks like a haunted house, But if anything, right, there's a few traits that we have to look at here that could be quite interesting when you look at both of these series. And we'll go into the Eastern and the Western Conference finals just now. But I think what we have to start with, Kay, is talking about that Game 7. Western Conference semifinals, Clippers taking on the Nuggets. The Nuggets just looked calm. Even when they're behind, they were like, look, we've got this, don't worry. And they just go to a different gear. Jokic, Jamal Murray, it's scary. And then you think of the guys that they've managed to stop in Kawhi Leonard, a two-time finals MVP, won a Game 7 for the Toronto Raptors against the Philadelphia 76ers. These are big-time players. Paul George, I know I'm talking nonsense about him, but the reality is he just has not lived up to the hype, and maybe it is bubble life and being away from the amenities and all of that. But what is the thing that struck you the most about that Game 7 and that series in general?
The Game 7, I'll tell you this, Cyrus. The Game 7, Coach Doc Rivers choked. Kawhi Leonard choked. Paul George choked. Patrick Beverley's mouth was 2 miles ahead of it. Montrezl Harrell was playing like the 18th player.
Marcus Morris.
Marcus Morris didn't even know, Cyrus, okay, let's keep it real, right? In this series, only one team had a lot to prove, and that was the Los Angeles Clippers. They were the Lakers stoppers. They were pitted to be potentially in the final. Cyrus, you yourself predicted a Bucks Clippers final. Oh my word, are you disappointed this year?
Well, let's put it this way.
Moving right along,
my crystal ball Cyrus, is being replaced.
The Denver Nuggets, right? I think you need to buy a crystal slipper from Cinderella or something, because that ball ain't working.
I might need Spinderella. You mean these Denver Nuggets?
Ooh, Cyrus, let me tell you something about the Denver Nuggets, right? Coming off the momentum of that, was it 7-game series with the Utah Jazz?
Yeah.
They were like, we're just going to keep this moving. And what happened, Cyrus, is they just didn't take their foot off the gas. It was like, we can catch these Clippers. We can catch these Clippers. And once the Clippers lost 3 games in a row, that's where the problem was. Because who's now got the pressure, Cyrus? Is it the Clippers or is it the Denver Nuggets?
They were up 3-1, so that 2 games in a row was what really leveled it.
Okay, that two.
So I'm in agreement.
Who's got more to lose? If you're the bigger guys who are viewed to be one of the best defensive teams in the league, right? NBA, with two, and I'll say this with all honesty, with 2 top 7 NBA players in your squad, in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, 2 of the best two-way players in the league. When we talk about real talent on that squad. Cyrus, and I know Paul George hasn't been the same since the injury, I tell you that much. And that's why maybe even the likes of Dame Lillard were taking swipes at him, saying that he's afraid of the work, because when there was work to be done in Indiana, he left. He went to OKC. When there was work to be done in OKC, he left and wound up at the Clippers. And now there was work to be done at the Clippers. Guess what, Cyrus? Work wasn't done. Cyrus, it was such an exciting Game 7, but I think the Clippers let the entire basketball fraternity down by losing that grit, losing what we know them for, especially this season.
It's a bit tough. Yes, they were.
It is not tough, Cyrus.
They were terrible, but let's also remember, regardless of what we wanted, the Nuggets were better than them. It's as simple as that. And, you got to give it to them as being the team that wanted it more. They delivered. Jamal Murray dropped 40 points. That is more than the combined total of Kawhi and Paul George in that Game 7. it was just way too much. And what you really need in this kind of space is one of them to pitch up. You don't expect both of them to disappear. Let alone the fact that Lou Williams was, looking at Nikola Jokic's shadow, because, he is not going to stop him.
Cyrus, before we even go into the Joker, right? Nikola Jokic, he wasn't joking last night. I'll tell you that much.
No, he was not.
But let's look at the Clippers. Sorry. Let's look at the Nuggets. The Nuggets, you got Nikola Jokic looking beautiful right there. He's got that shot that looks like there's a guy in Randburg. Usually wears a number 32 Clippers jersey. I hate this guy, and I'm always made to guard this guy. But I won't mention his name.
He
backs the shot. He backs the shot a lot.
Amazing things.
Now Nikola Jokic has got that shot, that mid-range that he takes like he's shooting in the air, and it's got the most beautiful arc. It's like a rainbow on a beautiful spring day. Jamal Murray won't stop attacking that rim. He won't stop, and now he's got some backup in Gary Harris, and then you've got Jeremy Grant. He's looking confident, dude. They didn't even pull out ball.
They haven't. They're not going to use it. They're not going to use it.
They might not use him because I don't think they have to at this stage. Plumlee's playing well. Cyrus, let's keep it real. The Clippers might have lost this game, but the Nuggets won this game.
Yeah,
they won this game convincingly. What, 23 points? They won this game. The Clippers might feel like they lost this game, but no, the Denver Nuggets won this game. They came to the higher seed and said, "Look, if you guys are slipping with your jump shot on safety, okay, we are taking the series." And they took it. Cyrus, it was impressive basketball. It was, like I said, it was depressing because of what we expected from the Clippers. And then it was all like, but Doc Rivers, do you need to own another?
So the Doc Rivers conversation has to be had. And for everybody watching, make sure you like this video, you subscribe. We want you to tell your friends about it, but also visit postupzone.com. We have a great article on there about the Clippers and how they capitulated. Our contributor in Nigeria, Akinbode Oguntoye, was going to be with us this evening, but technical difficulties stopped that. But he writes about the Clippers, and he writes about just how badly both Kawhi and Paul George let the side down in this particular series, not just in the Game 7. It's a really good read. Kaunda, we got to go into what, the reason we're here, which is the conference finals. But I think the final thing for me to say about this particular Game 7 and this series was that, when you're up 3-1, and Doc Rivers has been here numerous times in his career, with the Clippers as well, you don't expect to not be able to win one more game. Every series is about winning 4. And you can't, especially if you go up 3, suddenly think, I'll just get it in the next one. You got to make it count every single time. That's something that LeBron James has been really, really impressive at throughout his career, is making sure every game counts. So they might lose the game once, and this is one of the things that I think will be really interesting, and we'll talk about that in the Western Conference Finals previews chat, is the Lakers are probably going to have a far better start to this series than they've had in the previous ones. And I think the Nuggets will look at this and say, why the heck not? We've beaten one team from LA and everybody's playing in Orlando. So it doesn't mean like we're going to be fearful. There's no Staples Center. We'll do what we have to do.
No, Cyrus, I hope that Lakers jersey you were wearing the other day was representative of the Clippers, because I don't need your bad luck on the Lakers. Thank you very much. I think that was for LA Clippers. And today, don't forget, you are wearing Denver Nuggets. So
yes, I got a red. But there's some stuff that's coming up. Let's look at the games that are coming up. So here we are. We've got a real look at who the teams are, the games that they're going to be playing, and also some of the really interesting things to be seen in the NBA as we head into the the conference finals. Like, just look at the games themselves. This Boston Celtics versus Miami Heat one, and I think that's an important one to start with. The Heat and the Celtics played an incredible game 1. An absolutely incredible game 1. A weird quirk about how things have worked is that they don't necessarily have the game 4 locked down as a date. So if you see the graphic again, you'll see that it says there it's a likely date. they don't have a date locked down yet. Yet, when you look at the Lakers series, they've pretty much got most of the dates locked till, Game 7. So, I don't know what's happening there. But I think the thing here is that when you look at that first game, the Celtics for me, and I wrote a piece online for another site where I talked about who could win in that series. And it's such a tough one to call because they're fairly evenly matched teams. I did feel that the Celtics could have edged, or I think they might even still edge the series, but you just saw that this Heat team are so determined. Bam Adebayo's block on Jason Tatum at the end of that game was that was Thanos levels. And I don't mean Zion Williamson Thanos.
No. Cyrus, I think even Hakeem Olajuwon and Dikembe Mutombo might have to give a call through to Bam Adebayo and say, young man, well done. Because that's what a big man's supposed to do in the paint when a three guard like Jason Tatum thinks he can fancy his chances at the end to try and force that double OT. It is not happening. You need to show him who's boss. Cyrus, first of all, let me backtrack for a little bit. The Celtics have looked beautiful, Cyrus. The way they managed to put away the defending champions in the Toronto Raptors. They're young, they're determined. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart. Now I'm forgetting the big player in the paint with the tattoos. Daniel Tice. Cyrus, they are playing beautiful basketball. And you know what's interesting about this team? They're relatively young, Cyrus. They're the same young guys that Kyrie Irving left when he went to join the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
So this is a bunch of young guys. They're testing out things, but obviously they've got the backing of experienced coach in the name of Brad Stevens. He knows. Exactly. I mean, he went to the finals with Isaiah Thomas, who many didn't think was the greatest of point guards, but they went to the Western Conference Finals where they were beaten by the Eastern Conference Finals where they were beaten by LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? But look at them, and then turn your attention now to the Miami Heat. Besides Jimmy Butler, who is their de facto vet, right? He brings that dog mentality to the squad, and I think
that he
gets them worked up. Bam Adebayo looks at him like a big brother. He follows his lead. If you look at who's the young man who's shooting well now?
Tyler Hero.
Tyler Hero, Cyrus. Tyler Hero is a future hero of this league. I'm telling you this
much. He's a current hero.
And then you look at, is it Derrick Jones Jr.?
Yeah.
Can you see that guy fly when he takes that ball to the hoop? That boy flies. So what they've got on their side, Cyrus, I see, is championship caliber coaching in Eric Spoelstra, who won 2 championships with LeBron James when LeBron was in Miami with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. So you've got one of the most defensive-minded coaches on your side, who's got that, playoffs experience, finals experience. He's gone all the way and lifted the Larry O'Brien trophy. Yeah. And you've got Jimmy Butler, who's playing with one of the biggest chips on his shoulder, because he was like, I can show you that I can be a leader. I think it's bigger than his table cut thing that he's got going on. What has happened is, I think Jimmy Butler left Chicago because they thought, attitude issues, went to Minnesota, sorry, with the Timberwolves, had his thing, didn't quite work out, attitude, whatever, playing, wound up in Philly, and I thought, man, I really don't fit here, I need to go somewhere. Winds up in Miami, he's like, I love the Heat.
Yeah.
Plus, maybe DJ Khaled can make a couple of remixes with me. But while I'm here, I'm going to take this young squad and I'm going to make bullies and dogs out of them. And I think that's what Jimmy Butler has done.
Is this not what he was trying to do in Minnesota with Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins?
Absolutely.
But he didn't get the same level of support from those players, and I guess maybe even the organization itself, because when you look
Cyrus, when he went to Miami, right, he didn't find 2 Rookie of the Years in there. You know what I'm saying? No. Because you got to remember, he found personalities in Minnesota, in Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. Those are former Rookie of the Years, and they were like, whatever, dude. If you like fighting and scrapping, we're not like that over here. We do it a little bit different. But I think when he went to Miami, and I think with all due respect, I think the likes of Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero admire him. And I think we're working alongside Goran Dragic. Also, Goran is
and
like a
Andre
vet.
Iguodala.
And Iggy, you know what he did in Golden State. So there's another
He's such a good player to have there.
People forget that Iggy has got so much experience. Iggy played alongside Allen Iverson in Philly. So Iggy is no young man. He's been there, he's done that. He's won championships in Golden State. So look, Cyrus, he found a squad that was ready to say, okay, Jimmy, take us there. And Jimmy was like, follow my lead. I won't let you down. I will put in proper minutes. I will put points up there. I will get clutch buckets. I might cuss at you every now and then, but take it on the chin because we're going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And potentially we could win a chip. Cyrus, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen yet here. They've got a one, you know what, the 0-1. I mean, the 0-1. Now I'm 1-0, sorry. And I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry. I'm just so excited because Jimmy Butler is doing something I didn't expect him to do, Cyrus. He's kicking ass in Miami. I mean,
there it is.
Lord.
You know,
I don't know.
They're up in this series. You know, the winning that first one, 117-114. Game 2 on early Friday morning is going to be a really interesting one because I want to see what the response is from the Boston Celtics. I think that Brad Stevens is going to really get his guys to try and deliver a little bit more. I don't think that they played at the level they should have been at, and I think that they got spooked. At some point when they were really playing well, they were taking this Heat team to town, and then it just suddenly got cold, and then they didn't trust that they could work their way through that. So, you know, it's the kind of series where I think Boston will find themselves. And I like some of the other places they have in there, like Brad Wanamaker. You know, he's a nice little player. He does what he needs to do. He doesn't have any airs and graces. He just goes about his work. Robert Williams, he's just, you know, a really good, hard-working player. We need to see more of him. And I think this is also one of the problems sometimes where you have certain people who are deemed underdogs, like the Heat. The Heat will be underdogs in any series they play in the playoffs, whereas the Celtics then became the presumptive top dogs because of their seeding. They were the 3rd seed, and now here they are in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, you know, the pressure, I guess, would be on Brad Stevens and his guys because Jason Tatum really is, you know, like he's an all-star. He is playing at a super, super level, and he just needs to try and bring everybody else up to that level. I think that if, weirdly, like you talk about how Jimmy Butler's had a massive influence in Miami, you almost want to have something similar happen with Kemba Walker. That something's just got to click where Kemba becomes cardiac Kemba, where he just does what he has to do, because he had a shot blocked horribly at the end of regulation. And, you know, same Bam Adebayo. In fact, it might have even been Jay Crowder. And Jay Crowder had a fantastic game. It's one of those where when you look at this series, you've got two young teams who really are just having a go at each other. And I think that game 2 will be critical. That's, for me, the critical one. If the Heat go 2-0 up, it's going to be a long, hard slog for the Celtics, because they have to then try and win that 4 in a row from there. And you don't want to be behind or on the back foot. Whereas the Celtics will be like, look, we've lost 1. Let's keep it at that. And I think this could be one of those. Who do you think will go through in this series?
Cyrus, I am inclined to think that the Miami Heat could go all the way, Cyrus. I'm loving the energy Jimmy Butler is bringing. Yeah. You know, he's like that guy. If he's not on your team, you hate him. But if he's on your team, you love him to bits and pieces.
Maximus from Gladiator. You know, he will
absolutely
lead you.
He will lead you, and I like I'm saying, that energy is rubbing off on his teammates, and it's not like they're becoming fighters; they're just becoming scrappy, and they as if he's told them that, guys, we've got nothing to lose. Leave it all on the hardwood. We leave it all on the hardwood, and it's Disneyland. Let's have a fantasy while we're here. You know what I'm saying? Like, just live your dreams. This is the place where dreams come to life. You know, I don't know what he's telling them.
That is amazing.
I don't know what he's telling them, but it's working.
But it's something to that effect.
Jimmy Butler is. Do you know what Jimmy Butler reminds me of? Yeah. He reminds me of what Draymond Green used to do to the Golden State Warriors. Like, he would, in the huddle, something would happen, it's like he would have a cowabunga moment.
Just
I'm referencing the
ignite
Teenage
the
Mutant
fire.
Ninja Turtles, and he'd ignite a flame under everybody, and they would come out and slaughter whoever was in front of them.
Yeah.
But look, at the same time, I fancy Miami right now. I'm calling it Miami in 6. Miami in 6. I was going to say 5,
Miami
but
in
that's too
6.
close. I'm
I'm
calling it
still
Miami
saying-
in 6.
I think Celtics in 7, eh?
Celtics in 7.
Yeah, I think Celtics in 7. I think there's just something about this. Look, let's see how it goes. It's going to be one of those series. We've got to move along because we got
Yep.
to talk about this particular series, and we need to have some time, spend some time on this. The Western Conference Finals is going to be absolutely bonkers because you've got a Lakers team who, by all accounts, will be the predominant favorites to win the championship, not just this series. You've got LeBron James there, you've got Anthony Davis, and then a whole cast of characters around them. This starts early Saturday morning, game 1, 3 a.m. Basketball fans here in Africa, we suffer for the things that we love. But it's going to be one of those amazing series. Now, from the Lakers' perspective, they've had a lot of time off. I think that's often caused a little bit of rust issues when it comes to heading into the playoffs. Then the first round, they lost to the game 1 to the Trailblazers. They then lost game 1 to to the Houston Rockets. So there's a possibility that because the Nuggets have played another epic series, they could take game 1, but that isn't something the Nuggets are relatively used to. So, what do you think is going to happen in that first game?
First of all, big shout out to Charles Barkley, him and his brooms. Thank you. Cyrus, I'm a Lakers fan, as you know.
Yeah.
Big fan of LeBron James, big fan of AD. Loving the way Dwight Howard is making a comeback. JaVale McGee also looking impressive. Alex Caruso, Cyrus, what a weapon.
Big fan of the young guy.
We need Kyle Kuzma to step up. Markieff Morris, he needs to do his work. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope needs to do his work. We need playoffs and finals Rondo here. We need that veteran experience. But Cyrus, we've also got Talon Horton Tucker. Just when you thought we couldn't pull from our bench, we got a youngster. We can just throw him in there, and he'll be a little disruptive. You saw him in the Houston. You saw him in the Houston series. So, but on the other end, Cyrus, this is a Denver Nuggets team that's pulled off some surprises this season. The way they beat the Utah Jazz, and it became Donovan Mitchell versus Jamal Murray. And they went at it. This time, I think Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, that's a 1-2 punch of note. And Gary Harris is back. He's looking loose.
Yeah,
he's out there. We were talking about Plumlee looking hectically nice out there.
He's giving him really good minutes.
Jeremy Grant is making his uncle Horace Grant very proud out there, and that squad, Cyrus, can pull off surprises. I fancy the Lakers in this because, first of all, I think we'll go back to the beginning of the year when we lost one Kobe Bryant on the 26th of Jan. I think they're doing it for Kobe. They're doing it for LA, and I think that they're on a high. And I think, to me, my biggest fear was the Los Angeles Clippers, who literally have flamed out.
Yeah.
I thought they were the biggest threat, but Cyrus, still, now you got to face the facts. Their biggest threat is the Denver Nuggets. It's not
the only threat.
But now they've become a big threat because they put away a big squad. Like they put away the Clippers, Cyrus.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought this was going to be like a Clippers Bucks final, right? Yeah. But look at it now. The favorites to come out of the West, one of the favorites, obviously was always a toss-up, which LA franchise.
And the Clippers,
They've put away the one that was considered to be the strongest of the two. Now look at it this way, Cyrus. Speaking of, if records are anything to go by, I mean, you got to remember again, the Lakers come playing off, I don't know what they were thinking, Houston Rockets small ball.
Yeah.
How many... Look, Cyrus, even the Golden State Warriors had JaVale McGee at the time. They once had DeMarcus Cousins. They had Zaza Pachulia.
They've had
Who
bigs.
win?
Look,
How many teams have won a championship
there's a
with
reason
small
why.
ball?
There's a reason why things have changed in Houston. Coaches have left. The whole emphasis around things has changed. But let's talk about the guys we have in front of us, because
Absolutely.
like you say, this isn't the small ball that, and I don't think it's small ball that actually ultimately killed the Houston Rockets in that series. I think it was that they just went cold shooting and then they lost leadership on the floor, and you could see it. James Harden just wasn't interested. Russell Westbrook was absolutely just not at the races. And so when you look at this Nuggets team, you've got a Jamal Murray who's in this playoffs has been dropping 50s, dropping 40s.
Yep.
This is a really dangerous player from from the point guard position. So I look at it from the matchups, and I don't see any, like, maybe Rondo might be a good defensive fit against Murray, but Murray's toasted a lot of guys. He's toasted a lot of guys. And then when you look at it from the bigs, right, and this is where things get really interesting, Anthony Davis hasn't necessarily faced a center of any real caliber in this after Nurkic. And Nurkic looked gassed in that first round series, right?
Yeah.
So what happens when he's up against Jokic? Because I think Jokic is the perfect kind of player to come up against him. Jokic isn't necessarily the greatest defender, which is the big issue that Denver will have, but AD will have his work cut out to try and maintain Jokic in spots where he misses shots, because Jokic can shoot from deep. And then it's the other gang around them, the Gary Harrises, the Paul Millsaps. It'll be how they manage to bring something to this game. But outside of that, I just don't see where Denver has any pieces that stop LeBron James. And that's the key thing for me, is that they haven't been good defensively, the Nuggets. It's not like they've played great defensive ball where you can be like, that's why they're winning these games. They've just managed to find another offensive rhythm to race to. And I think that's been the critical thing. In this particular series, I think I'm also going to go with the Lakers. I think the Lakers are going to go through. They just have too much pedigree in there. We all love an underdog story. And the Nuggets getting past the Lakers would be underdog as it gets.
And Cyrus, you're gonna love where I'm gonna go with this one, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
AD handled Jokic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, handled Nurkic.
Yes.
But Jokic is a different kind of itch.
He's a joker.
No, I think in terms of mobility, in terms of mobility and
He's
lateral movement, yeah, he's not that it. Jokic is more mobile. He's got better lateral movement, and he's got better shots from range,
better scoring touch,
and better scoring touch. And he's bigger than AD. You got to remember. I mean, like heavier than AD.
Yeah.
So that he can use, to his advantage when he's trying to spin around him. So I think what the Lakers are gonna have to do, maybe whenever Jokic is on the floor, they're gonna have to play two bigs. They're going to have to play a combination of AD and McGee, or AD and Howard. Dwight Howard, yes, because with Jokic on the floor, you can't just have one big. I think he's a problem. There's a problem. And Jamal Murray issues. And Jamal Murray is faster than Rondo because he's younger.
No.
Remember, Rondo's not as young as he used to be, and Jamal Murray is literally a child compared to Rajon Rondo. So we're gonna have to rely on the likes of maybe bringing in a KCP. Maybe Dion Waiters has to step up, Caruso, because you can't switch up the likes of Kyle Kuzma on Jamal Murray. He's gonna eat Kyle Kuzma for lunch, breakfast, dinner, midnight snack,
every
chocolate bar. Every meal of the day. You know how fast Jamal Murray is, and he'll take that ball. He'll either draw a foul or he'll take it all the way to the bucket. So the Lakers have really got a plan for this. I'm telling you, this Denver Nuggets team could surprise.
They really could. I don't see where they've got somebody who stops LeBron. And I think that's the critical thing in this series. Is that
I did forget one ingredient.
Yes,
but hey,
because as much as they might put like a Jeremy Grant or Paul Millsap, who would be matches in terms of size, LeBron does so much that he becomes such a difficult character. And I think what they might do is similar to what they tried to do with Kawhi Leonard, is put as many of their guys on him as possible, swarm him, It's just that LeBron has got such a good passing range that he can get the ball to anybody and free them up and then get shots. The critical thing will be for the Nuggets if they can get guys like Plumlee, Grant. I'm trying to think who else. Michael Porter Jr. is really going to be a critical one for them. He doesn't play defense though. But if he is firing on offense, so one of the things for me is that matchup between Kuzma and Michael Porter Jr. could potentially decide the fate of this particular series, because either one of these guys catches fire and you've got point scoring and problems on one end, and then the Lakers have a lot more to do in terms of trying to cover the different positions. They're one of the best defensive teams in the NBA this season. So I think, the Lakers will fancy their chances. They're very well coached. They've got a lot of good pieces and good players. They should make their way to the NBA Finals and probably win it all, because whether they face the Heat or the Celtics, the Lakers should take out anybody from the East. So are you saying Lakers in this series?
Cyrus, I gotta go with my Lakers. I can't bet against the Lakers, and I think after last season's injury that prevented the Lakers from seeing the playoffs and them making it to the Western Conference Finals since 2010, when I think that's the last time even Kobe saw the Western Conference Finals, right? And look, Cyrus, I think it was written in the stars. I've been wanting the Lakers to win a chip. I've been wanting LeBron to win a chip at the Lakers so that he can join that legacy and he can be one of the only players that's won chips at 3 different franchises. So I'm all the way in with the Lakers, Cyrus. I'll say Lakers in 5.
Okay, I think this could also be one of those where the Nuggets give as good as they've got. It might go to 6 games, because I think that the Nuggets are not as bad as the Trailblazers or the Houston Rockets. I think they might take 2 games off LA, but I think the Lakers will definitely win this one. And Lakers in 6. So I think that's the way it will go. So you're saying you potentially think it's a Heat-Lakers final? The LeBron Legacy Cup. Current team.
The storyline
is present.
The storyline is going to be beautiful. Former coach, that kind of stuff. Yeah. When he meets Haslam, it's going to be that old brother, how you been? It's going to be interesting.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Kaunda, it's been a great post-up show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, tell your friends. We need you to share this widely because we are NBA crazy here in the African continent. This is the Post-Up Show. Make sure you keep watching this. Listen to the Post-Up Podcast. Go to postupzone.com. But whatever you do, make sure you do it with the love of basketball.